Hey everyone, welcome back to Matthew's Sports Analysis. Today we're doing more weekly picks and we've got company. My longtime friend and sports fanatic Ben Vega is joining us to make his own picks. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing spectacular. Happy to talk some football with you.
There's no reason to stall, so let's dive right into our game by game predictions. We're going to start off with the Panthers and Texans. Personally, I think the Texans have been surprisingly good, but with Tyrod Taylor day to day and the fact that they're unwilling to start Deshaun Watson, they look unlikely to win. Davis Mills seems to be on the right track, but not enough to compete with the red-hot Panthers just yet. I'd expect Christian McCaffrey to get 20-plus touches and dominate on the ground while Sam Darnold leads his team to 3-0. What you got?
I completely agree with you, but I think the Panthers are going to win it, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people expect because I think Davis Mills is going to be. I think he's going to shock some people. I think he's more pro ready than what people think, and I think Philip Lindsay has a good chance of really playing well against this Panthers defense.
1,000% totally agree with you. As of my score prediction, I have 27-13 Carolina. What you got?
I like that. I would probably say I would run up the score just a little bit more on both sides. The Panthers' high-powered offense is it's going to be really hard to stop, especially when Sam Darnold starts to start humming. And it's great. DJ Moore is a spectacular outside weapon to throw to, and he has a great deep threat in Robbie Anderson.
1,000%. Next up, we got the Chargers at Chiefs. The storyline of this matchup is the fact that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs look to get past last week's nail-biting matchup against Baltimore. Los Angeles moved the ball well last week, and they'll keep up against Kansas City more than people expect if they keep up the offense and its rhythm in week 3. Realistically, I think the Chiefs defense will come up strong against Los Angeles and get the revenge game to bounce back strong. What you think?
I agree. I think that Chiefs defense was not in sync this past game. And I think they're going to show what they're really made of. And I think Tyrann Mathieu is he's going to ball out, and it's way harder to stop that Chiefs offense when you have weapons on the outside like they do.
Absolutely. He had an impressive week 2 appearance, and I think that he did outstanding in his debut for 2021, and I think it's just a sample of what he's going to do from the rest of the season. So for the score, I have 34-23 Kansas City.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's good. I agree with that one.
Yeah. Okay. As for the next game, we got the Cardinals taking on the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has had a rough start, to say the least. He waits for his rebound week. A tough matchup lies ahead for him and the Cardinals. Arizona's defense has looked dangerous within the past 2 weeks. And with Kyler Murray and the rest of the offense cruising, it's hard to see Jacksonville coming out with the win. Expect Arizona to dominate Jacksonville's offensive line, pressuring Lawrence to make more mistakes, which leads to more Kyler Murray touchdown passes. What you got?
I think you're spot on. I think you hit that right one on the head. It's just a matter of how well this Jaguars offensive line can hold up against that elite pass rush. And I think this is probably going to be T-Law's worst game yet because he's going to have so much pressure in his face. And those outside cornerbacks for the Cardinals are, they're decent, but when you have that great defensive line pressuring them, it's hard to make good reads down the field. So I really think T-Law is going to struggle in this matchup.
Before we get into scores, I'd like to add some side note. I don't think anybody really expected Trevor Lawrence to get out to the start that he did, but I'm sure that Jacksonville would love to get back the Houston game that they had week 1, given the fact that, they didn't have as impressive as a showing as they'd like, but I feel like Trevor Lawrence and his confidence is at an all-time low right now. And it's something that needs to get better if the Jaguars are going to do anything in the future.
Yeah, if the Jaguars expect to win, you hinge your franchise on a guy like this, he's #1 overall draft pick. And, you got to give the rookie some time to develop. But like you said, he's kind of shit in the bed right now. He's not exactly what everybody thought he was going to be. But I have faith that he'll get there sometime later in the season. Just not this game.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not, like you said, not against this pass rush. What you got for a score prediction?
I think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be close. And I don't think that Jacksonville defense can hang with Kyler Murray. He's a monster running in and out of the pocket and finding his man D Hop. So I don't think it'll be close. I think the Cardinals will beat him pretty handedly, probably by 2 or 3 touchdowns at least.
I'm right there with you. The dual threat quarterback in Kyler Murray is really dangerous, especially to this Jaguars defense. So I got Arizona winning 38-10.
Yep.
All right. Now we get down and dirty. This is my favorite teams, the Bears at Browns. So what I got written down is after Andy Dalton went down with a knee injury on Sunday, Justin Fields made his official debut as Bears quarterback. If you look at his stat line, you'll see a decent at best start to his career. But after watching the game and the highlights and his performance, you'll know that that wasn't the case. If he can limit rookie mistakes in his potential first NFL start, expect Chicago to score more on the offensive side. Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield also went down with a gruesome injury last week, dislocating his left shoulder, trying to make a tackle after an interception. With Jarvis Landry on the injured reserve list and Odell Beckham Jr. questionable for Sunday, lots of questions are left unanswered for this game. Cleveland has a history of struggling against dual threat quarterbacks, and Chicago is being threatened by the deep ball this year. Despite multiple weaknesses, both teams have progressed every week. I expect a shootout between the two teams that ends with Justin Fields making a case for the starting position, but still comes up short against an improved Browns defense.
I think this is probably going to be the first one that we disagree on a lot. Like we said, we expected T-Law to come out and do better, and he's having tough growing pains, and I think you should probably expect that same thing out of Justin Fields, especially
Really?
now. Yes, since starting the whole game and behind the just battered Bears offensive line, I feel like he's going to get hit, and I think it's going to take him at least a half to adjust, if he can even do that. And Browns rookie cornerback Greg Newsome is really balling out and putting a case up for rookie of the year right now. So I think I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's actually going to be a defensive game.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think I don't think Justin Fields is going to do too well, but I definitely think near the end he's going to show some signs of promise and eventually get better throughout the season. But I think he's going to struggle against this team.
Hey, as a Bears fan, I like to hear that growth aspect that you just listed off. But before we get into scores, I know that you mentioned the offensive line. In order to back up my Bears, I think I'd have to say that Jason Peters and Jermaine Afidi actually had a great game last game. If you look at the footage, they did a great job on the outside. But I think the problem actually lies now for the interior. And I think if they can actually stop Myles Garrett and if they can stop Jadeveon Clowney, or at least slow them down, Justin Fields can be able to scramble out of the pocket, which is something that I would really look forward to, given the fact that Chicago really hasn't had a mobile quarterback in my lifetime. But with that being said, do you have any rebuttal, or do you want to go ahead and get into scores?
Well, like you said, as an Eagles fan, trust me, I know all about JP. And JP, you got to worry about him getting injured, and you also have to worry about his penalties. He will penalize you to hell. It's not going to be good, and especially going up against an elite pass rusher in Myles Garrett. Like you said, I feel like that's going to be very key if the Bears do win this game. It's going to be because they shut down Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, but that's a tough ask for an old washed up Jason Peters.
Absolutely. Something else to really look at is, would you also consider Tyrod Taylor to be somewhat of a dual threat quarterback, even though he might not be, say, starting quality compared to other quarterbacks in the NFL?
Absolutely. Tyrod Taylor is even though his arm talent isn't there, he's definitely a top 10 dual threat quarterback in the league. You always have to worry about him scrambling out of the pocket, and him, just like Kyler Murray, I think it's not so much their downfield running ability, it's being able to scramble and jump around in the pocket and buy his receivers some time to get open and make a good throw.
with that, I'd like to add my last case for Justin Fields, and this is our going to be this is our first argument on this video, which I'm looking forward to hopefully more. But with Justin Fields being that dual threat quarterback that can make plays, and he's extremely intelligent, I'd like to add that too.
Yes.
I feel you saw how Tyrod Taylor did against the Browns last week. He made it close for Houston to actually challenge the Browns, which is something that nobody expected. If you watch my last week's predictions, I believe that I picked the Browns to win by a convincing amount of points.
Well,
But
hold on. I'm gonna have to step in here. Do you know if Laramie Tunsil is playing or not? Is he out? Because if
for
the Texans, because if Laramie Tunsil is playing at tackle, that's definitely key. Because Laramie Tunsil is one healthy, I would say above average starting offensive tackle. And again, I hate to break it to you, but as an Eagles fan, I can definitely tell you Jason Peters is not an above average offensive tackle. And that's why he was sitting on the market for as long as he was before you guys decided to pick him up.
right, yeah. As far as the Texans and Tunsil go, I'm not entirely sure, but I just wanted to add in that Tyrod Taylor being the mobile quarterback that he is, and kind of reinstating that opinion on how Cleveland does a little bit of a rough time, or has a little bit of a rough time dealing with those mobile quarterbacks. I think that Justin Fields is actually going to be a lot better than some people think, but that's just backing up the whole Justin Fields starting candidate for me. But something else I'd really like to add, just a little side note, and this is the last thing that we're going to get to before we get to scores, if you don't mind. But Chicago fans are really, really not going to like me for saying this, but I really think that Andy Dalton has not done that terrible of a job as Bears quarterback. If you look at it, I mean, he hasn't thrown an interception yet. Well, he did, but that was the tipped pass. It wasn't as bad as, say, Justin Fields' first read, or that, not that first read, but the first interception that he threw, which I do want to say is a rookie mistake. He will correct that. Nothing to be worried about. And all the Bears fans on Twitter could agree. But I do believe that Andy Dalton didn't do that bad of a job as quarterback, and he's really making his case in the NFL to potentially start for another team, depending on how the quarterback situation looks in the offseason.
Well, you know what you're getting with Andy Dalton. He's average guy. He's not going to do anything that's going to wow you, but you're not going to sit back and complain that he did something stupid. So you know what you're getting with Andy Dalton.
So what you got for a score prediction? You said that it's going to be a defensive battle, so I'd like to see what you got. What do you got?
I think you're going to see something along the lines as you did with this Eagles and San Francisco game. I think it's probably going to end up being somewhere around 10-7 or 10-17 Browns.
Okay. All right. I have basically the complete opposite in 38-34 Cleveland. Moving on. Yeah. Moving on, we have the Washington football team facing off against the Buffalo Bills. Would you like to start us off?
Yeah. I mean, I'll go first. They squeaked out a win in that game. That was, for the first time in a long time, we saw an interesting NFC East primetime matchup. You don't usually see that happen nowadays. Taylor Heineke surprised me. Taylor Heineke is doing a lot better than what I thought he was going to do. He's definitely shown that he can be a starter, whether it's with the football team going down the road or if it's a different team. But I think he's going to struggle against this Bills defense. They're good, and again, it's hard to stop somebody like Josh Allen. I think the key to this game, if the Washington football team wants to win, is to keep Josh Allen in the pocket. But the Washington football team definitely has a line to do that.
I gotta say, I completely agree with you. What I have written down is Buffalo is coming off an impressive shutout victory against Miami. And after Washington struggled against New York last week, it's tough to see the Bills losing this one. Although Washington has a great defense, Buffalo will be able to stop the run game and counter Heineke's impressive start to the season. So as far as score goes, how do you think this game's gonna play out?
I'm going to go with 20 to 30.
Who's coming out on top?
Bills.
Bills? Oh, yeah. Okay. I have 38-21 Buffalo.
Okay.
So moving on, we have the Colts facing off against the Titans.
This one
Now,
is going to be good.
oh, yeah, for sure. And being that Eagles fan, I'd really like to hear what you have to say about Carson Wentz, even though he could potentially be out. But what you got for this matchup regarding
Well,
that?
as you mentioned on that back end, I think it's very important to um, wait and see if Carson Wentz is going to play that game. Um, I I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up not, because it's not just one ankle injury; it's both of his ankles, and um, they don't get anything from. Honestly, they don't get anything from starting him. If anything, they save their first round pick. Um, but if Carson Wentz plays, I think as long as he can limit the turnovers, which he really hasn't been able to do. He's had some fumble problems these past 2 games, but if he can limit the turnovers and make some big plays down the field to Zach Pascal and Michael Pittman, I think they have a chance to squeak this out as long as their defense can hold up against Derrick Henry. But I don't
Okay.
know any defense that can.
Yeah, solid point. I mean, despite that week 1 tough start for Derrick Henry, but we don't have to talk about that. So for me, I mean, Derrick Henry and the Titans really picked up their offense last week against Seattle, and that's a tough team to play against. But unfortunately for Colts fans, like you mentioned, Carson Wentz has both of his ankles messed up. And so there's a possibility, like we also said, that he isn't available. But until that news breaks, I'm confident that Tennessee is going to take this one.
I'm gonna go with you on here, or I'm gonna go with you on this one, but I think it hinges on his ability to actually Ryan Tannehill to throw that ball down the field. But I do think it stings a little bit because there's a couple scores that Julio Jones touchdown that got called back it's pretty horrendous. I think the NFL needs to do
Yeah.
a little bit better job on that, but I definitely think it's how well they can pass the ball, and if they can do that, like you said, I think they can take this one pretty easy.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you have for your score prediction?
I'm gonna go with 37-17.
Okay. I have 34-28. I think
Okay.
that it's going to play out close to how it played out with the week 1 matchup between the Seahawks and the Colts. But it's going to feature a little bit more offense if Carson Wentz is going to be playing. So I'm giving it a little bit higher up on the whole scale for scoring.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how I think Jacob Eason is going to be the starting quarterback if Carson doesn't. It'll be interesting to see how he plays.
Right, 1,000%.
If he does.
Yeah. So moving on, we have the Saints facing off against the Patriots in a game where Julian Edelman is getting a halftime whole ceremony, honoring his impressive career. So what do you think? How do you think this is going to play out?
Can you say the matchup again?
It's New Orleans facing off against New England.
Oh, okay. So this one's going to be interesting because there's a wide range of where this game can go. Because if you see Jameis Winston of week 1, they can. I don't think it'll be close.
Right.
But if it's Jameis Winston of last week, I think it's going to be tough. But I think it's also important to add that last week, pretty much the whole entire offensive coaching staff of the Saints was out due to COVID, and with them getting that coaching staff back, I think it's gonna help Jameis improve on what week 2 was, because that was kind of rough.
Yeah, that was definitely rough. I think he threw 2 interceptions that game.
And that defense was just beaten up and battered as well. They were hurt. But with Marshawn Lattimore coming back, if Jameis can play well, I don't think it's gonna be close. I'm personally not a fan of Mac Jones, so I think that definitely plays into the conversation. But I think if Jameis can play well, I don't think it's gonna be close. probably like a 48 bomb, and we didn't even mention Alvin Kamara in that conversation. So
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I really don't think New Orleans is going to be able to play spoiler to the whole Julian Edelman ceremony, that's going on. I really do think that New England did a really great job of pressuring Zach Wilson last week and forcing him to make turnovers to where it's a possibility that you see Jameis Winston do that. And so I think the Patriots are going to take this one, but I'd also really like to say that Edelman had a great career. I'd like to say congratulations to him because he deserves every bit of celebration coming his way this upcoming weekend.
yeah, and his impact on and off the field were great. Everybody talks about Julian Edelman as a football player, but he was also a great member of that community that he was in, and he definitely helped out. So he's a great person off the field as well.
Absolutely. And any Patriots fan can remember, I believe it was him that made the crazy catch against Atlanta in the Super Bowl, correct?
Yes, it was.
Absolutely insane. So going into the scores, how do you think this one's going to play out?
Again, I think the Saints will put up some good points. I think it's going to be 48-24 is going to be my guess.
Okay.
Because you added that they got that pressure on Zach Wilson, and this Saints offensive line is going to be a lot better than what that Jets offensive line is, especially without the Jets
1000%.
having the Jets star. I don't say star, but budding young star in Malik Beacon. He was hurt, so I think that definitely played key into the pressure that they got on Zach Wilson. They're not going to be able to get that as easy on Jameis Winston.
Right. Okay. I must say I disagree. I think New England's going to win, but it's going to be a lower scoring game. I'm going to pick New England to win 28-17.
Okay.
So moving on, we have the Atlanta Falcons facing off against the New York Giants. I think Matt Ryan and the Falcons look like they have plenty of things to improve on, and it starts by limiting the turnovers. New York also seems to be struggling to finish out games, especially after last week. But this week, I think they're going to repeat the pattern and the Falcons come up strong. And I also want to point out that I'm going to expect big performances from Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts one is bold for sure, just because he hasn't he hasn't produced as well as people would have expected in the first 2 weeks, but I think it's only a matter of time until Kyle Pitts starts producing, because it's hard to just hold somebody back. You take some time to adjust, but I think eventually he'll definitely have a good showing. And like you said, I think it could happen this week. I think it's definitely interesting to see how the Falcons respond to that loss, because they definitely showed fight up until that fourth quarter. And then once the turnovers started happening, they couldn't fix that. But the Falcons definitely showed that they had something going until the turnovers happened. Like you said, as long as they can limit that turnover bug, I think they'll I think they'll come out. But it'll be interesting to see Daniel Jones. Is another important or interesting tidbit about this game is their wide receiver. They drafted a first round wide receiver this year, and he has 2 catches and -2 yards on the season. So we'll see if maybe he can change that.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney, great player, and I actually scouted him out. I remember, I think I might have talked to you, but I thought that Kadarius Toney was going to be this all-star that's going to be unbelievably productive and crazy good out the jump. And in fact, I actually wanted my Bears to pick him up, but he looks to be the exact opposite so far. I'm not going to rule him out of any potential growth, coming out. I mean, we're only 2 weeks into the season, so how could you do that for any rookie? But I really do think that Atlanta's going to win this one, but it's going to be a close margin because both teams seem to, struggle finishing out games. And, as for Atlanta fans, I'm really sorry for bringing that one up, but I think 24-21 Atlanta for this game.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
Cannot agree with you more.
That's insane, man. It's like we're connected or something.
Wow, it's like we've been friends for a really long time or something.
Oh yeah. So next up, we got the Bengals facing off against their division rival, Pittsburgh Steelers.
I like this one. I keep on saying that, but I like this one. I think Joe Burrow's in for a bounce back game, but Najee Harris is going to just be tough to stop. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
if you're watching this video, you saw that. I mean, that he put that man to body back with that stiff arm. I mean, he threw him into the ground. Najee Harris is going to be tough to stop, but Joe Burrow is going to have a bounce back game.
Yeah, and I can't believe, or I can't agree more. I mean, I was shocked to see, and I mean, as a Bears fan, it was awesome to see the defense looking that way, but I can't help but think that it was some kind of fluke. I really feel like Joe Burrow could have done a lot better. The pressure was getting to him as far as the pass rush and everything. And so I really feel like, you know, there's a couple games that come up in your career where, you know, you really don't want to look at them. You don't want to see, you know, exactly how you did. This is one of those games for Joe Burrow where you just kind of sit back and think, well, this one we could throw away. But as far as the Steelers game this upcoming week, I definitely think that he is going to bounce back, like you said. But also another great point, Najee Harris is going to be really hard to stop for them. But I also feel like they did really good stopping David Montgomery after his fantastic week 1 start against the Rams. So ultimately, I think Pittsburgh is going to win this one, but only because Cincinnati is going to have a tough time protecting their young quarterback against Pittsburgh's tough defense.
I think Joe Burrow is going to have a bounce back game. I think it's interesting that you touched on that last point there at the end. It was about protecting Joe Burrow. I think TJ Watt is still questionable for this game. And if TJ Watt is playing, I think Joe Burrow is going to have a lot tougher time, obviously. And if TJ Watt isn't playing, then I think Joe Burrow is going to tear up that defense. That being said, I do think the Steelers are going to win this one.
Yeah. Okay. So for my score prediction, I have 31-21 Pittsburgh.
I'm going to go 31-24 Pittsburgh.
Okay. Just had to one up me just that little bit. Just
again, I really think that Joe Burrow is going to, I'm not going to say shock some people because people are aware of how good Joe Burrow is, but definitely going to bounce back from what his week 2 performance was.
Yeah, he's gonna return to his normal Joe Burrow state. Something else that I also really want to add that was really interesting, and I don't know where this came from, but Joe Burrow to me is really showing potential to be, in my opinion, the next Matthew Stafford.
That's a bold take.
It is a bold take, and it was just something that I had noticed when I was looking at the Bears because, I mean, if you look at the Detroit Lions, you look at a team that is, I mean, constantly struggling, unfortunately. I mean, I for one think that they have a bright future ahead of them. They got draft picks stacked up, and they don't look too bad this year. But you look at, you know, the Bengals, and they look like a similar situation, except on the other side of the league. So you have, you know, your Browns, your Steelers, and your Ravens that constantly, I mean, I guess not constantly for the Browns because they're just going into a little bit of a groove that's settling in. But you have three other teams in the division that are constantly fighting for that top spot. But I think, you know, the Bengals are also on the rise, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of Matthew Stafford out of Joe Burrow early on. So
I think I don't think Joe Burrow has the same arm talent as Matthew Stafford, and I think that's important. And I think as we saw in this past game against the Bears, it's all about limiting the turnovers. And if he can do that, then I think he might have a shot. But the important thing to add to that is Joe Burrow has better weapons around him than Stafford did. Stafford had Megatron, but once Megatron was, you know, once he retired, Matthew Stafford didn't have anybody to throw to.
Yeah, 1,000%. that's a great segue into the teams that I was just mentioning. The Ravens and Lions are facing off. I said Baltimore is coming off of an impressive win against Kansas City. And after Detroit's disappointing performance against Green Bay, I can't see them win against a top 10 team in Baltimore. What you got for me?
I do think it's going to be close. I'm going to be honest with you. Lamar showed what he can do. That week one with Lamar was a little rough, but after this game, you definitely see his MVP form shine out again. And his running ability and his passing ability, it's unparalleled to anybody else in the league. And when he's humming, that offense is hard to stop, even without their running backs. And that Lions defense just looks horrendous, and they can't get any pressure on the quarterback. And if you give Lamar time to throw and run, I think it's going to be over. I think they're going to put up probably about 5 touchdowns on him.
Okay, 5 touchdowns. It's a bold prediction, man.
That is, but I don't think it'll be close. And Jared Goff is kind of been shitting the bed.
So what you got for final score predictions for these guys?
I'm gonna
quick. What's 7 times 5? I'm just kidding. No.
34. Anyway. I think it's also important to see give some kicker love. Justin Tucker's gonna score points or score field goal, so I'm not gonna say 35. I'm gonna go 38. And again, like I said, Jared Goff has been shitting the bed. So I'm gonna go with 10-38.
10-38. Okay, I got 28-13. I said it's also not going to be close, but I do think that Detroit's going to put up a couple points on them. I, for one, think that in the first half, at least, they did a great job of pressuring Aaron Rodgers when they played against Green Bay, but they couldn't finish out strong in the second half. So I'm with you. 28-13 is my prediction. So.
Yeah. And one more thing to add, I think a fun rookie matchup to look at is Penei Sewell, because Penei Sewell has just been a stud. I mean, Penei Sewell has not let up a sack since college, but he's also going up against former Penn State alumni Jason Oweh. I think he was an late first round pick, but he could have been an early second round pick. And Jason Oweh was just a stud in this past game. He was wreaking havoc. Absolutely. So it'll be fun to see that matchup.
All right. So moving on, Jets facing off against the Broncos. So looking at this from a Bears fan's perspective, right? You see a lot of that 2017, 2018 defense, right? So you look at your Vic Fangio head coach. You look at, your stud cornerbacks and Bryce Callahan and Kyle Fuller. And then who is that rookie guy again? I mean, you're my draft guy. So what's his name?
Patrick Surtains. He's been balling. Patrick Surtains has been as advertised for sure.
For sure. And then you look at, Von Miller, who you could easily substitute in for that Khalil Mack, type player. You know what I mean? But
hold on, let me interrupt here real quick. You wanna talk about that, but I also think it's important to add, like you said, you can slot that Von Miller into that Khalil Mack role, but they also have a very good opposite rusher of Von Miller. Bradley Chubb. Sure. Bradley Chubb is good, and that's something the Bears hate to say don't have, but.
Well, look at Roquan Smith, man. I mean, he was a breakout rookie.
Roquan Smith is a stud. So, oh my God, Roquan Smith can do everything.
Absolutely. Don't you forget about my man Roquan Smith. But if you're watching this video and you realize that I'm talking about my Bears, quote, and I haven't done that in any of my videos, it's because I'm trying to stay as unbiased as possible. But because Ben's been my, longtime friend, he knows how biased I am towards them off camera. But if you watch my previous picks and videos, you see that I've actually picked Chicago to lose in both of those games. So obviously I'm wrong one of those, but I just wanted to put it out there that I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. But Definitely. Going into this Jets and Broncos matchup, I'd like to say that, Zach Wilson seems to be having a hard time getting out of the rut that he's in.
Shit the bed.
And against Denver's secondary, it appears it's a tough matchup for that rookie. So, and Teddy Bridgewater looks promising.
Oh, he's
So
shocked some people this season for
he's
sure.
he's done outstanding compared to other quarterbacks that we've mentioned in this video so far. So what's your take on this before I give you who I think's gonna win and what my score prediction is?
I agree. Again, the important thing is Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is doing way better than I think what anybody expected. Um, again, I think it'll be interesting to see how well he can continue that passing game because they do have Cortland Sutton. That injury to Jerry Judy week 1 really hurt that wide receiving core.
Hurt my fantasy team too.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting, and I don't know what is going on with this draft class, this past draft class QBs. Zach Wilson just, we're gonna go back to Sam Darnold here, but Zach Wilson was seeing ghosts. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
not, yeah. He
We got to
couldn't.
bring that up.
You have to, and I don't know. I don't think the Jets have the offensive firepower to do what they need to do to get this job done. People were really trying to jam down that Corey Davis is a number 1 wide receiver. And they tried to jam that narrative down your throat, and at least through the first 2 weeks, it definitely does not look like that's true.
Something I'd really like to add is, and I'd like to add this into future videos as well, but a player to watch for this game would definitely be Quinnen Williams for me.
Yeah.
I think that he could potentially have a big game on this one, but definitely something to watch for this one. But in my opinion, like you said, it's tough to see Denver losing this matchup, considering how Teddy Bridgewater's looked and how Zach Wilson's looked and how tough that defense looks. But I definitely think Denver's coming out of this one, and they're going to start the season 3-0, something that hasn't happened since the 2016 NFL season. So, what's your score prediction, man? What you got for me?
I think it's going to be a low scoring game because, again, like you said, I think Quinnen Williams is going to really push that pocket in on Teddy Bridgewater, and I definitely think it'll be interesting to see how that is. I'm going to go 13-21, 13-21 Broncos. And just fun fact before we move on, it'll just be interesting to see how the running backs play because the running backs for the Bronco is Javonte Williams. He was drafted at a University of North Carolina. I think it was either 2nd or 3rd round. And in the 5th round, the Jets drafted Michael Carter, who also went to the University of North Carolina. They were stalemates back there in that backfield last year. So it'll be interesting just to see that.
That's a tough one to pick who's going to do better and whatnot. But I do want to mention before I give you my score prediction that I do believe Teddy Bridgewater is going to get the offense moving a lot better than he has within the past 2 weeks. I definitely think that Zach Wilson's also going to get in some more of a groove, although he is going to turn the ball over at least once.
I agree.
So I think you can quote me on this, but Denver's going to win this one 27-17.
Okay.
So moving on, we have the Dolphins facing off against the Raiders. The Raiders have looked really, really good these past couple weeks, and I just wanted to put that into words.
I wouldn't say the Raiders as a team. The Raiders it's interesting to see that they're doing as well as they are because the pieces on that team, definitely there are some missing holes on that roster. So I don't want to say the Raiders have been doing good, but Derek Carr
looks awesome, man.
Oh, he is the engine that is running that team right now. But we're talking about Derek Carr. An interesting thing is who's going to be back there at QB for the Dolphins. I think Jacoby Brissett is their backup quarterback, if I'm wrong.
So I think you might be right there, but here's a little update for that because while doing research for this one, I did do a little bit of research and background check on Tua. Yep. He is listed as day-to-day. His rib injury is not a fracture. So it all depends on whether or not he can practice before Friday and travel with the team, maybe put some pads on.
Exactly.
But for me, I think Oakland's been rolling. They have impressive wins against Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And to be honest with you, I think Carr and the Raiders are going to come up big, and they're going to win 30-13.
30-13. You don't have any confidence in the Dolphins offense, do you?
Well, here's the thing, and I'll back it up by this. I don't think the Raiders are Buffalo quality just yet,
No,
but I
not at all.
definitely think that they're able to score with the likes of Henry Ruggs, when the likes of Darren Waller, and then you have David Carr throwing to them in a veteran. I mean, it's tough to say that the Dolphins are going to compete as much. I mean, they're obviously going to do a little bit better than they did last week. They're going to improve upon that win, but they're not going to do enough to stop the Raiders offense, and they're not going to do enough to win this game overall.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more about the Derek Carr statement. Well, you had that player to watch in this game. I definitely think that the player to watch it has to be Jalen Waddle. I mean, who is covering Jalen Waddle back there? I mean, can you name the outside
1,000%.
quarterbacks for that team for the Raiders? I mean, some people could, but I would say the casual NFL fan probably couldn't name who those outside cornerbacks are. And I think Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker are going to have, Tua playing bearing. Because if Tua doesn't play, I think the outlook on this game is way different than if he is or isn't. But barring Tua playing, I definitely think Jalen Waddle, I think this will be his breakout game. And
for sure, yeah.
I'm going to agree with you. I think the Raiders come out on this one. But I do think the Dolphins are going to put up some points in this game.
Oh, yeah. So moving on to what I think could be the matchup of the week is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Los Angeles facing off against the Rams. This one's going to be tough to predict, man. And I really do think
it's high-powered offense versus high-powered defense on both teams.
For sure. And the thing is that this one is surefire candidate for game of the year. So what you got for me? I'm gonna let you start off, and then I'll give you my takes.
Yeah, like I said, at the start of this, it'll be fun because both these teams have high-powered offenses, both very, very good offenses. But both their defenses are not shabby at all. Both of them have, I would say, I'm going to say top 10. The Bucks defense might be down in the 11 or 12 range, but I'm going to say both of them have top 10 defenses. So it's not like they're just playing some Joe Schmo off the street like the Lions defense or something, right?
Right.
So it'll be fun. I hate to pick against Tom Brady because he always burns people, but Matt Stafford with Sean McVay just looks like that is sorry. Matt,
totally okay.
Yeah. Matt Stafford in that offense paired with Sean McVay just looks hard to
He looks more than good, man. And I just have to say, I mean, after watching Matthew Stafford suffer with the Detroit Lions for so long, and I mean, obviously I wasn't on the receiving end of that torture. I'm enjoying my Thanksgiving victories, but Matthew Stafford, just watching him play with the Lions, he does not look as happy as he does right now with those LA Rams. And the thing is that a happy Matthew Stafford, a confident Matthew Stafford, gives them potential to win the NFC, in my opinion. So what we're looking at right here could potentially be an NFC championship preview. Absolutely. You could be looking at the 1 and 2 seeds. I mean, this is very possible, but I'm going to dive right into what I have written down here in my notes. I have, Tampa Bay continues to overwhelm defenses with their impressive wide receiving core. It seems like they're kind of rotating in between Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Whose week is going to be this week is my question. But the Buccaneers defense looks strong too. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, he's Gronk. He doesn't have anybody to compete with for tight end right now. But The Bucks defense, like we said, is strong, which will make this matchup interesting. Matthew Stafford, like I said, they can really make a statement in a win against the Buccaneers here. I think, like I said, potential NFC Championship preview, and I'm also expecting another Week 3 shootout. I don't know if you remember a couple years back, the Chiefs were playing the LA Rams with,
Yep.
oh man, I forget his name now that we're talking about it. Spitballing here. Jared Goff, that's his name.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
The Lions
We're
quarterback shitting the
if you're
bed.
watching this, yeah, don't even worry about that
Jared
part.
Goff
But
shits the
anyway,
I'm just gonna have to add that.
we're gonna make that a t-shirt or something.
Jared Goff shits the bed. I like that.
But if you remember that game, man, they scored what 100 points total or so. And I mean, that was an absolute shootout. And I think that this game's going to be comparable to that one. But I think Tampa Bay is going to win because, like you said, you can't really count out Tom Brady in crunch time unless it's fourth down in Chicago. So what you got is your score prediction.
Well, again, I think it's hard to bet against Tom Brady. It really is. He always burns people. That being said, I'm betting against Tom Brady. Rams are.
You're betting against
Tom Brady.
He's dropping the bomb right
here.
The
Rams are going to win this game for one reason. Aaron Donald. I think it's going to be a shootout, but it's going to be a shootout, and Aaron Donald is just, he's hard. He's hard to beat, and I think it goes both ways. Vita Vea matches up very well against that interior, that Rams offensive line, but Aaron Donald is a key. Aaron Donald and Junior Ramsey are going to be what sets them apart from the Bucks.
Okay.
Fuck. Excuse me. 38-41 Rams.
That was so close to my actual score prediction that I have written down in my notes. It's so scary. I have Tampa Bay winning this 45-38. Unbelievably close. But all right, we got another interesting matchup. Coming up next is the Seahawks at Minnesota. I mean, here's the thing. Looking at Minnesota, you see a team that has a lot of potential. You have Adam Thielen, you have Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins still. I mean, he's doing his thing, man. He is not a terrible quarterback. But, you on the other side of things, you have Russell Wilson that looks scary good alongside Tyler Lockett. So for me, I think Seattle is a dark horse in the NFC. And I mean, the Vikings just keep coming up short. So it all depends on whether or not Minnesota can finish out this game. And maybe they'll be able to score more with Dalvin Cook. What's your thoughts?
I think Kirk Cousins that first half this week too. Kirk Cousins he was balling out. And then that second half, he shit the bed there a little bit. And poor Mike Zimmer, but both games came down to field goals. One they won and one they didn't. And Mike Zimmer's history with kickers isn't good. Going back to playoffs years ago,
the Vikings fans in the heart right now, man.
I'm sure the Vikings fans would agree with me. Their relationship with the kicker isn't good. God, this is just so hard because Russell Wilson is playing at such an elite level. Like he always does. Him and Tyler Lockett, that connection is, it's never gonna get old. Love to see that. But just those two outside wide receivers for the Vikings is just, who are they going to match up against? Justin Jefferson is an open, throw the ball to Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is an open, throw the ball to Justin Jefferson.
Absolutely.
So, and again, didn't even touch on Dalvin Cook, but Dalvin Cook is, if you can give Dalvin Cook the ball, top 5 running back in the league, you just got to give him the touches for it,
for sure.
So, and I think the Vikings defense has has not lived up to what their potential can be. I think that Vikings defense can be a lot better than what they've shown these first 2 weeks.
Okay.
Vikings are going to win.
Vikings win. Okay. I disagree. I think Seattle's going to win this one. As for my score prediction, I have the Seahawks winning this one 34-23.
There you go. I'm going to say, Vikings 28-17.
28-17. All right. So we're moving on to our Sunday night and Monday night matchups. And we're going to start off with our Sunday night. We're going to go in order. But moving on to the final games, I just want to say thank you for coming on. This has been awesome. For you to be my first guest is more than an honor. So I just wanted to, add a little bit of sentiment into this. But going into this one, we're going to be going, it's Green Bay going to San Francisco to face the 49ers.
Green Bay easy.
You really just said that it's easy. Okay.
Well,
all right. What's your reasoning behind that?
The Eagles. The Eagles kept that game close, way closer than it probably should have been coming from an Eagles fan. And they just couldn't. They struggled with penalty and moving the ball down the field. And Aaron Rodgers with that Adams connection is stupid, and Aaron Jones was just unreal.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be close. But
See,
as long as they can keep Nick Bosa away, it's not going to be close.
That's totally understandable. For me though, I definitely think, with Aaron Rodgers making it clear that week one's performance wouldn't be happening against a division rival last week, Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams making impressive performances, and a win against Detroit last week really set the tone for Green Bay coming forward. But with the 49ers being able to score so many points against Detroit, you can kind of scale the two teams. And I'm not going to say which one's better because of Detroit, but I'm going to say that San Francisco is going to score a lot more early on, because I think that San Francisco's offense is going to catch Green Bay off guard. I do think that Aaron Rodgers gets it done in prime time. He's going to come back and win the game for Green Bay, but it's going to be one of those classic comeback victories for Aaron Rodgers. And for me, the score prediction is going to be 35-30 Green Bay.
I'm going to have to say 42-24 Packers.
Okay.
And I think it's important to state that the 49ers cornerbacks are so bad. Josh Norman had to play last week, and Josh Norman has to play. He's your cornerback group isn't good. Depends on if Jason Verrett is playing or not. But if Jason Verrett isn't playing, Devontae Adams is going to torch that defense.
Absolutely. I completely agree, which is why I believe that they're going to have that second half comeback. But we're going to move on to our final matchup.
Take this one away from you.
Oh man, this one you got to stay as unbiased as possible, man. This one's going to be tough to hear.
It is.
Eagles are facing off in Dallas, Monday Night Football.
It's so important I'm an Eagles fan. For anybody who was wondering why Ryan was saying unbiased, it'll be fun. It's which Jalen Hurts are you getting? Are you getting Jalen Hurts the runner, which you did last week, or Jalen Hurts the thrower? Because Jalen Hurts the thrower against the not 49ers, the Falcons was, he was good. He was making on target throws, and he really helped that team to win. I mean, he did have some of that scrambling ability in there, which is always nice to see. But you go back to week 2, and it's Jalen Hurts, the runner. He was not able to move that ball down the field. It was or throwing the ball. He was not able to move the ball down the field, throwing it aside that really deep, 90-yard pass. But outside of that, he was really struggling with it. So it really just depends on what you're going to get out of that, or where you can get out of him. But Lawrence not playing, Demarcus Lawrence not playing is fun. It'll be interesting to see how that holds up.
Okay.
Dak, one more thing. Dak against this defense will be fun just because the amount of weapons he has at wide receiver is just, like I was saying with the Vikings, CeeDee Lamb isn't open, Alvin Kamara, or not Alvin Kamara, Amari Cooper, sorry. Amari Cooper isn't open, Michael Gallup, you have so many weapons and
many.
And Zeke is bad. Free Tony Pollard. If Tony Pollard plays above Zeke, they're winning. If Zeke is getting more touches, they lose. That's my point.
So here's my question. I mean, and you brought up the defense, which is a perfect segue into this question. Being that Eagles fan, how would you expect their run defense to hold up against the 1-2 punch of Zeke and Tony Pollard?
Through the first 2 weeks, run defense has actually been stellar. The run defense has been really good, and I think Zeke is overhyped now, and I think he's getting more buzz than what he probably should be. So I think if Tony Pollard is getting touches, this can be a lot tough. And the important thing to add to that is Eagles captain and veteran defensive end actually popped his Achilles last week, and he's the starter. So that's a good segue into that running game, like you said. So it'll be interesting to see how they hold up in the run game without him.
All right. So for me, I said Jalen Hurts continues to impress, even if he came up short last week. With Dallas looking like potential contenders or dark horses for the NFC, I really do think Dak, CD, and Amari Cooper control this game the whole time, although Philly makes it close. What's your score prediction before I get into mine?
I think it'll be close the whole game because Dallas defense stinks. They don't have a defense. Yeah. And especially without DeMarcus Lawrence, that defense is just it's bad defense. I think it'll be closer than what people think. Hurts me to say, but I'm gonna go with Dallas in this one.
All right. But I think our player to watch, by the way, just to make you feel a little bit better as an Eagles fan, I think your player to watch is Devontae Smith.
Yeah, if he can get open, then the Eagles can win that. It'll be a close game, and I do think that the Eagles do have a chance to win this. But I do think the Cowboys end up squeaking there at the end.
Absolutely. So my score prediction would be 28-24 Dallas.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. All right.
Couldn't
perfect.
agree more with you.
So that does it for our weekly predictions. What I would like to end with is just, like I said before, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you setting aside the time and staying up a little bit later with me to make these predictions. I know it's a little bit of a longer video for those that have been watching, but is there anything else that you would like to say to everybody before I let you go?
No, I appreciate you having me on. I always love to talk football with anybody who wants to listen. So I really appreciate it. I'd be more than welcome to come on any single time you want me to. That being said, if you guys are interested in basketball, check out me and my bud's podcast, Hooper's Heaven. Will be on Spotify and YouTube. That first episode's supposed to drop within the next week or so, and it's only a matter of time until we have Ryan on that. So keep an eye out.
You never know. All right. For more weekly predictions as the season goes on, projections between specific players, and coverage between just about all sports, click the subscribe button. If you have any suggestions or idea for me to cover on the channel, leave them in the comments below. And lastly, if you like the video, tell me by clicking on the button. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, me and Ben are signing off.